Thanks for joining us on another episode of Drop the Tailgate. I'm Barry Cross, the Region 2 Communications and Education Coordinator. And today I've got Clint Borum, the private lands biologist from Middle Tennessee with me, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about food plots and what we may be doing wrong on our food plots and we don't even know we're doing it wrong. He's going to give us some tips on how to maximize the benefits from those food plots. And Clint, thanks for joining me today. And what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, Barry, it's a big subject, you know what I mean? Food plots are the buzzword with everybody, and it's that time of year. You know, we're in September now. It's time to be planting fall food plots, and so I'm getting a lot of questions about it. So it's great timing that we put this together, this Drop the Tailgate together. But I wanted to get out there several common mistakes that are made when planting food plots. Of course, one of the first ones that I see a lot is, where do you get your recommendations from?
Now, I always get them off the back of the bag. Whatever that bag says, I just throw it out there and hope for the best.
Well, with so much TV and so much internet and different things out there, a lot of people are putting out food plot recommendations. A couple of things that you need to take into account are the fact that people may be recommending food plot mixtures for areas that are not the southeast, all right?
Yeah.
Some of these areas may be up in Wisconsin or Minnesota.
Kansas, Iowa.
Kansas, Iowa. And by the way, the climates there are a lot different than they are down here, okay? They're going to get a lot harsher winter, a lot shorter growing season, maybe less rainfall, and you have to take all those things into account with the species that you're planting into your food plot. So a big mistake is where people get their recommendations. And one of my solutions to that is, I really am an ambassador for your local extension office, all right? Your ag extension office. And in Tennessee, the University of Tennessee has an outstanding extension program, much less they have a phenomenal wildlife extension program at UT. And so they put out a ton of publications on food plots or wildlife management in general, but even better, a lot of publications on food plots specifically that are more tailored to the southeast or even the state of Tennessee. So that's the first place. If I'm looking for a recommendation on a food plot, what to plant in this part of the world, that's where I'm going to go.
So you really need to take into consideration what our growing season is, I guess, and that kind of thing, and how much rainfall we actually get in this area.
Yeah, it's critical when you look at the type of species that you're going to put into your planting mixture, okay? Most people don't know this, but we get 60 plus inches of rainfall a year in Tennessee. We're about 10 inches of rainfall away from being considered a temperate rainforest, okay?
Wow.
And our growing season pretty much runs from March all the way through the end of September. So that's a long growing season with a lot of rainfall.
So when you look at somebody's property, do you recommend a lot of food plots? Is that how you go about this? Or?
No, not necessarily. Really, the first step when I go out and meet with a landowner is we're going to zoom out. We call it the zoom out approach. And we're going to look at that property from the 30,000 foot view. It's basically going to be a 5-mile circle, and I'm going to assess what's missing, what's not here on this property that needs to be here to make game want to be here. And a lot of times in Middle Tennessee, which is the 26 counties that I work, you see 2 or 3 main components. One is fescue or cool season grass, pasture or hay ground. You see crop ground, and you see woodlands. The one component that's typically missing is early successional cover. And so that's what we're going to focus on first. But when you implement those areas of early succession, you can supplement those with a good food plot program.
And when you're talking early successional, that means like maybe cutting back some of the forest and letting it grow up. Is that what you're talking about?
It could be part of it, but a lot of it is just taking the current openings that you have and managing them for the correct species of natural regeneration. Getting rid of these cool season grasses and allowing things like ragweed, pokeweed, beggar's lice, prickly lettuce, blackberry,
all that nasty stuff,
all those weeds everybody talks about. But in reality, what's critical is Those weeds, Barry, run anywhere from 15 to 20% protein for a white-tailed deer, and they exist on the landscape from basically March all the way through the end of September. You can't buy a bag of deer feed at co-op that has that much protein in it.
And that's one thing somebody told me one time, you know, I'm more concerned about oak trees and acorns. Well, that doesn't last like this early successional habitat does it? I mean, the acorns are only there for a little while.
Very short amount of time. Number one, oaks are cyclic, and there's no biologist on the planet that knows the cycle of an oak, okay? It could be once every 2 years, it could be once every 5 years, and believe it or not, a majority of oak trees in the wild don't ever produce acorns. So let's say that it does produce acorns. That food source is only viable for about a month to a month and a half out of the year, and when it gets rained on the ground and begins to swell, it becomes a non-viable food source for deer specifically.
Yeah.
So it's a very short availability of food, and it's limited.
So how do we supplement? What are we messing up whenever we're going to plant our food plots? How do we fix our problem?
Well, we could spend a full 3-hour episode just talking about food plots today, but I'll hit some high notes and show some common mistakes that are made. Again, one, where do I get my recommended mixtures for planting? In Tennessee, I would highly recommend going through the University of Tennessee Ag Extension Program or Wildlife Extension. There are a ton of publications on food plots and food plot management that the Wildlife Extension puts out through UT. You can get good recommendations on seeding mixtures. The second thing we're going to look at is, you know, we're not really supplementing the diet of a white-tailed deer because 75% of their diet is browse, okay? But we're looking to hold those deer over during those critical months, basically December, January, and February, okay? You can we can talk today about warm season plantings versus cool season plantings. We can talk about annual food plots versus perennial food plots, but I'm not really going to get that deep into it today. But all those things need to be taken into account.
That's where you go talk to your private land biologist and get more information. But what are we talking about today?
Well, today I want to talk about the second common mistake that I see on food plot planting, and that is not getting the correct seeding rate on your plot. A lot of people tend to unknowingly underplant their food plots.
And then they wonder why it looks so patchy.
Yeah, a lot of times it can cause patchiness or unevenness or not a good stand per se on your food plot. So what most people don't understand is you buy this bag of seed and you expect everything in that bag to be seed.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's not.
Why?
Okay?
It's not?
There's so much inert material within that bag that you may have to alter your planting rate to reach the correct pounds per acre that you need to be planting. And I'll go through an example here if you want me to.
Yeah. Show us what we need to know.
Yeah, so I've basically drawn out what a seed tag on a bag would look like, okay? And here's a bag of wheat, here's the seed tag on it. There's a lot of information on that tag, okay? So we did an example of, say, crimson clover. Let's say you're gonna plant a clover food plot and you're gonna put crimson clover in it, okay? All this information is on this seed tag. Okay. But in reality, there's a couple of things that are really important to me as a planter. One of those is the amount of pure seed that's in that bag, which is listed here, and the germination rate of the seed that's in that bag, okay? With those two numbers, I can determine what the pure live seed amount is in that bag. And when you get planting recommendations, they are in the form of pure live seed. So if I say, Barry, you need to plant 10 pounds per acre of pure live seed of crimson clover, that is different than 10 pounds per acre of clover, okay? So when you take the pure seed, which is 99.7% converted over to a decimal, and you multiply it by the germination rate, which was 85% according to our tag, you get 0.847, or when you convert that back over to a percentage, 84% PLS, or pure live seed, in that bag, which means there's almost 16% of inert material in that bag, okay?
Yeah.
So if we know our desired planting rate, which on crimson clover, we're gonna recommend 20 pounds per acre in this particular plot.
Yep.
That's what we wanna sow in the ground. We divide that by our PLS, and that will give us the actual rate of seed in this bag that we need to plant to reach 20 pounds per acre. So in order to plant 20 pounds of this crimson clover per acre, you should sow approximately 24 pounds of seed from this bag. So you were shorting yourself 4 pounds per acre of actual live seed if you just weighed out 20 pounds and put it out on that acre.
And that's a lot of seed.
That's a lot of seed, especially if you get seed tags that have germination rates in the 60%.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to plant almost 50% higher rate to put out the actual amount of seed that you want on that plot. And I actually had that problem this fall with some of my clover plots. Some of the clover germination was running at 68, 65%. So I had to bump my rate up
almost
from
twice, yeah.
10 pounds to nearly 16 or 17 pounds per acre to get the correct amount of seed in the ground that I wanted. These seeds, specifically clover seed, they come with all this coating on them.
Yeah.
A big coating. It's inoculate a lot of times, and it makes up a lot of weight in that bag. So the actual amount of seed is lower than what you think it is in that bag. So calculating these numbers and determining the actual rate that you need to plant can make a huge difference on the success of your food plot.
Man, that is great information. And this is the kind of thing that if you have questions about what you're doing on your property, you can contact Clint or another private land biologist in the region to find out how to maximize what you're getting, because you're putting in the work. You ought to get everything out of it that you can. Great information. If somebody wants to get in touch with you or find out more information, where should they go?
Yeah, don't let me mess this up, Barry. It's www.tnwildlife-habitat.com.
All right, there you go. Rewind it and listen to it again. Clint, I appreciate you coming out. I hope we can do some more of these, because this is the kind of information that people who are working their own land are looking for. And I think this is beneficial to those that are the folks that really want to get into hunting, or maybe you're already into hunting and you're not seeing what you want to see. This guy right here can help you out on your property and maximize whatever benefit you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, and the reality of it is, a lot of us just don't have a ton of time. We want to make sure we get it right the first time.
That's right.
I don't want to have to come back and redo something I've already done because my time is limited. So taking into account these sorts of things will help you ensure better success the first time.
Awesome.